How's it going, everybody? Another fantastic week of football is in the books. Week 9 is in the past. A lot of teams made strides, and a lot of other teams are in panic mode. You probably know which ones those are. And we're about to go over Week 10, so let's get things started. So, first off, we have the Atlanta Falcons at the Carolina Panthers, a Thursday night showdown that actually promises to be pretty exciting if you remember the last game these guys had. If you don't, DJ Moore basically cost his team the game by an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty after he scored his touchdown, removing his helmet. The extra point was pushed back 15 yards. He missed it, went to overtime. The Falcons inevitably won. Both teams are in the running to win their division. The Bucs have it now at 4-5. The Falcons are also 4-5. So this win would really help them, especially because it's against a divisional opponent. As for the Panthers, they're in tank mode. Baker Mayfield was 14 of 20, 155 yards and 2 touchdowns. So not that good. Well, I mean, I guess that is decent numbers, but those were all in garbage time. PJ Walker had more incompletions than yardage. He threw 2 interceptions, had a passer rating of 0. They took him out of the game, and then Baker came in and finished the rest of it. Marcus Mariota didn't really do a whole lot either. 12 of 23, 129 yards for a 68.9 passer rating. Neither of these teams are very exciting, but the Falcons have a chance to make a playoff run, kind of like how when they were the Washington football team in 2020, they made the playoffs with a 7-9 record. That's what the NFC South is looking like it's going to be this season. So the Falcons have a chance to make the playoffs here at 5-5. I do think the Falcons are going to take it. Like I said, the Panthers are in tank mode on prime time here. The Panthers have played a couple good games, but it was with PJ Walker. I don't think Baker's capable of having a good game anymore. The Falcons are going to take this one, and they're going to take it easily. So next up, another interesting game. We got the Seattle Seahawks at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Two teams that, if you didn't know any better, their records would be switched if you looked at this at the beginning of the season. The Seahawks are 6-3. The Buccaneers are 4-5. The Buccaneers had a very good win against the Rams. Tom Brady led a game-winning drive. He was 36 of 58 for 280 yards and 1 touchdown for a 79.9 passer rating. So again, as I said, Brady is on a bad team. He's not playing bad. He's not washed. He's just playing for a bad team. This is what happens when you play for a bad team and you're a good quarterback. Your stats won't be unbelievable. They won't be astounding. But Brady's doing well. He's only thrown 1 interception this season so far. He led a very nice game-winning drive like he always does to defeat the Rams. To be fair, though, they ran the same play twice. It was like a slant, and then the guy ran out of bounds. They ran that twice and got like 30 yards off of it. So that was just the Rams playing really bad defense. But the Buccaneers still got it done. They still run this division. As for the Seahawks, again, the biggest surprise of the season. Geno Smith was 26 of 34, 275 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception for 106.9 passer rating. So he had a good game. Kenneth Walker, 26 carries, 109 yards and 2 touchdowns, 4.2 yards per carry. So Kenneth Walker, the rookie, really stepping up. It seems like the Seahawks system is really, really good. Geno Smith is having an MVP caliber season. He's not going to win MVP, but I wouldn't be surprised if he won some votes. He's definitely going to make the Pro Bowl. Definitely going to be comeback player of the year. Only player I think, like I said in one of my earlier videos, that can rival him is Saquon Barkley. But Geno Smith is just playing out of his mind right now. I'm delighted for him. It's crazy when a player has a career renaissance like this. What's going to happen in this game? The Seahawks have looked very, very strong. 2 weeks ago, they beat the Giants, who were 6-1 at that point. They were doing really well. I think the Seahawks are a team that is going to surprise some people, and if they stay healthy, they can make a playoff run. At home against Tampa Bay in a game that the Buccaneers need to win. See, you would think Tom Brady would rise to the occasion, but his team isn't around him, and he can't do it all by himself. They have no running game. Their defense is not playing well, and I think the Seahawks are really going to take advantage of that, and I think Seattle is going to win this one. So next up, we got the Minnesota Vikings at the Buffalo Bills. Now, these are two teams that are in the top 10, maybe even the top 5 in the NFL right now, but each team has different, they're coming from a different slant here. So the Vikings almost lost to the Commanders. We'll explain a little bit more in the Monday night game when we talk about the Commanders and Eagles, but basically they were down 10 points. The Vikings scored on their opening drive and then didn't score again until the fourth quarter. Commanders scored 17 unanswered, and the Vikings scored back to make it 20-17 to eventually win the game. They lost track of their game against the Commanders for the majority of it, but they caught fire in the fourth quarter, and they did just enough to squeak by with a win. That is the mark of a good team. You know, they got that interception off of Taylor Heineke, they got that field goal, they got that touchdown, they woke up at the right time, they came back, and they eventually won the game. Like I said, that is a mark of a good team. They didn't crumble under pressure, and they regained their control of the game, and they won it. You know, Kirk Cousins was 22 of 40, 265 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception for an 81.8 passer rating. And Justin Jefferson had 7 receptions for 115 yards and 1 touchdown. So another great game by Justin Jefferson. The Vikings offense is just operating on all cylinders. The fact that the Commanders were able to stop them, I think, was a mark on the Commanders' defensive front, pressuring Kirk Cousins, not letting him get any plays off. And I think that bodes very well for the Commanders, as we're going to see in the Eagles game. But when the Vikings offense works, it works, and it does extremely well. As you can see by, Kirk Cousins playing extremely well, even though he's not having as good of a season as he has in the past. I think one season he had 35 touchdowns with less than 10 interceptions. Those are MVP caliber numbers, honestly. Look it up. Like, Brady's had seasons similar to that where he's won MVP. But Kirk Cousins is playing well. Justin Jefferson is playing well. They're facing a Bills team that has faced a lot of adversity. They lost against the Jets. It was a shock loss. And now they're talking about Josh Allen with this elbow injury. And he certainly played like he had one. He was 18 of 34, 205 yards, 2 interceptions for a 46.8 passer rating. A quarterback that was in the MVP race is slowly letting that fall away from him. This is probably his worst game of his career, honestly. But he carried the ball for 86 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he was able to get it done with his legs. But there's talks about problems with his elbow. He needs to get that fixed, because if he can't get it done and his throwing ability is neutered, we got another Cam Newton situation where you have a phenomenal physical talent who can still get the job done with his legs, but just can't get it done with his arm anymore. So it remains to be seen. It'd be a crying shame if the Bills season comes to a close because of a Josh Allen injury. That'd be tragic. Like, the Bills are truly a snake-bit franchise if that happens to them. What's going to happen in this game? This is something that you would honestly see as like a Super Bowl, potential Super Bowl matchup with the way these teams are playing. Vikings are playing a lot higher than the Bills at home. I don't see the Bills losing 2 in a row, though. I think that the Bills will bounce back, and, Josh Allen, the Bills are a good enough team that if Josh Allen has to throw the ball less than 20 times because of an elbow injury, if they think they need to use him less, they may do more designed runs. Their defense will have to step up. But it's tough, though, because the offense rides or dies by Josh Allen. He is the motor to that offense. I am still going to go with the Bills, though. One bad game from Josh Allen is going to break the bank. They played really well against the Green Bay Packers, but then again, the Green Bay Packers aren't very good either. Yes, I am going to go with the Bills. Don't be surprised if the Vikings upset them, though. So, this next game, we have the Detroit Lions at the Chicago Bears. The Bears not really the Bears. Justin Fields has made some huge strides these last couple weeks. A lot of these times when I'm looking at these statistics, I'm thinking, Justin Fields is the worst quarterback in the league right now, but he has really, really started to put it together these last couple games. I don't know what has happened or what coaching adjustments have been made, but he's been doing really, really well. He was 17 of 28, 123 yards, 3 touchdowns for 106.7 passer rating, and in addition to that, he had 15 carries, 178 yards, and a touchdown. So Justin Fields is starting to look like Lamar Jackson 2.0. While I think Lamar Jackson is still a better runner and a better passer, Justin Fields is not far off. What you're seeing with Justin Fields now, the Bears season is over. They traded Roquan Smith. They are not running for the playoffs here. But you do like what you see with Justin Fields. And I think that is going to have a lot of optimism for them as the season progresses going into next season. As for the Lions, they beat a self-destructing Packers team. The worst defense in the league only gave up 9 points, but I think that has more to do with the Packers than it does the Lions. For what it's worth, Jared Goff was 14 to 26, 137 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception for a 78.5 passer rating. So he's still not playing the best. The Lions in general still aren't playing the best. They got off to that hot start, but the Lions are always going to be the Lions, it seems. What's going to happen in this game, though, I see this as another game where Justin Fields goes off, because the Lions' defense is the worst in the league by far. And if Justin Fields is tearing up, like he did in the last game, like he might do it again against a bad Lions team. So even though the Bears have seemed to, given up on their season, they're still winning games. So who knows what's going to happen? I'm going to be going with the Bears on this one. So this next one, we have the Denver Broncos at the Tennessee Titans. The biggest lolcow of the season has been Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos. They did win in London, though, 21-17. Russell Wilson with one of his better games, 18 to 30, 252 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception for an 84.3 passer rating. You really wonder if Russell Wilson is going to start putting it together at some point near the end of the season, or if what we've seen from him is just going to be the new normal for Russell Wilson now that he doesn't have Pete Carroll's system to work with, or if just the Broncos system is incredibly counterintuitive to him. Again, we don't know. The win against the win against the Jaguars was good, and for what it's worth, the Broncos do have a top 5 defense. That's one of the things that's really kept them in these games. As for the Titans, Ryan Tannehill better be ready to go, because Malik Willis has not looked good. He was 5 of 16, 50 yards for a 49 passer rating. So, you're not winning anything by making only 5 completions. Maybe if you have Derrick Henry, though. He had 17 carries for 115 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6.8 yards per carry. The last 2 games for Derrick Henry have been insane. He's had 4 touchdowns the last 2 games, 200 yards showing against the Texans, 115 yards against a good Chiefs team. The defense may not be the Chiefs' strong suit, but Derrick Henry lit them up, and it seems like a runaway freight train. He is really starting to go. So what's going to happen in this game? I think that, the Broncos have a top 5 defense. So is Derrick Henry going to run roughshod? I don't know. But the Titans also have a top 5 defense. They have a really great defense. Is Russell Wilson going to be able to pick them apart? I doubt it. This has the potential to either be a very low-scoring game or a Titans blowout. If Derrick Henry finds a seam in the Broncos' offense and just tears them up, I can see this as another game where Derrick Henry just dominates all around and leaves the Broncos in the dust. And I think that's going to be more likely. With the way Russell Wilson's been playing, I don't think that he's going to be able to keep up with Derrick Henry and the Titans' offense, especially if Ryan Tannehill comes back in. So I'm going to be going with the Titans on this one. So this next game, I think, has trap written all over it. We got the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Kansas City Chiefs. The Jaguars have beaten the world-renowned choke artists, the Las Vegas Raiders, so they are coming off of a decent win. Trevor Lawrence was 25 of 31, 235 yards, 1 touchdown, and a 109 passer rating, so good game on him. Travis Etienne had 28 carries for 109 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's really paying dividends for them. So while they won, it was against the Raiders, and it wasn't very impressive. As for the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes was 43 of 68 for 448 yards, a touchdown and an interception for an 80.9 passer rating. He threw the ball 68 times. How about that? And then Travis Kelce had 10 receptions for 106 yards. So, good stuff on their end. They beat the Titans 20-17 in a very good game. What's going to happen in this one? It's at home. It's at Arrowhead. The Jaguars had a good win, but they're not really strong team. This would be a huge upset if the Jaguars won. I'm going to be going with the Chiefs on this one. So next up, we got the Cleveland Browns at the Miami Dolphins. So once again, the Dolphins are an offensive juggernaut. We're just going to go over some of the stats here. Tua Tagovailoa was 21 of 30 for 302 yards, 3 touchdowns, 135.7 passer rating. Tyreek Hill, 7 receptions for 143 yards and a touchdown. Jalen Waddle, 5 receptions, 85 yards and a touchdown. This offense is bonkers. It's crazy. Tua is still undefeated in games that he hasn't died in, which is good. Say what you want about him taking advantage of probably the best receiver in the league in Tyreek Hill and one of the other great ones, Jalen Waddle. Say what you want about him taking advantage of that. He's taking advantage of that. And he's throwing 135 passer rating games. You have to have a little bit of talent if you're going to be able to do that. I think Tua's really starting to come together, and they're looking strong. As for the Browns, they had a strong showing against the Bengals on Monday night. They looked really, really good. For that game, Jacoby Brissett was 17-22 for 278 yards and a touchdown, 82.2 passer rating. Nick Chubb, 23 carries, 101 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then Amari Cooper, 5 receptions, 131 yards and a touchdown. So they looked strong. They may be 3-5, but they scored 32 points against the Bengals. Now, obviously, if you saw the Bengals game this week, they are fine. They put that loss behind them. But, the Browns just need to hover around 500 before Deshaun Watson comes back, and if we're all expecting it, plays like crazy and, takes the Browns to the playoffs. Again, like I said, I don't think that's going to happen. I think it takes a lot of time for you to acclimate to the offense and gain chemistry. Deshaun Watson will have none of that, and he'll join the Browns mid-season. I don't think that transition is going to be as seamless as they want it to be, so I don't think that they're going to do very well. In this game, though, I don't think the Browns' offense is going to be able to keep up with the Dolphins' offense, to put it simply. The only threats I see for the Dolphins right now are facing elite defenses, and more importantly, elite defensive fronts that can pressure Tua, force him to make throws, and really put pressure on him. Because that's the one thing I haven't seen. I don't know if it's because the Dolphins' offensive line is really good or what, but I think that's what needs to happen for the Dolphins to lose. And I don't see that coming out of the Browns. So I'm going to be going with the Dolphins on this one. So this next game, we got the Houston Texans at the New York Giants. Giants were coming off of a bye. They lost to the Seahawks in pretty embarrassing fashion. And it makes you wonder, is the Giants' mean streak over? Are they going to start losing? Against the Houston Texans, I don't think that's going to happen. Davis Mills was 13-22 for 154 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 72.9 passer rating. And Dameon Pierce, 27 carries for 139 yards. They put up a fight against the Eagles until they didn't, is the best way I can describe that game. The Eagles really, they were tied 17-17, I believe, and then the Eagles just kind of, they took over for the rest of the game. So, I don't know, the Texans, like I said, are one of those teams where they show up to some of these random games when you least expect them. And is this a trap game for the Giants? Maybe. They're coming off of a bye at home. Maybe they take the Texans lightly and they lose. But I don't know. Any other team, maybe. But the Texans are the worst team in the league. And I don't think the Giants are going to take them that lightly that they're going to drop to them. So I'm going to be going with the Giants on this one. This next game, we got the New Orleans Saints at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Two teams that are not doing well at all. The Saints, in a non-spirited effort, lost to the Ravens on Monday. Andy Dalton was 19-29, 210 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception for an 84 passer rating. So they are not doing good at all. Neither are the Steelers. This is a rebuilding year for the Steelers. Whenever they get TJ Watt back, maybe they'll be contenders again, but they're 2-6. They are way far back. So this game doesn't really have strong implications. I suppose the Saints are in a weak division, so they can make a playoff run. So for that, they have more to play for. So I'm going to be going with the Saints over the Steelers. So you want to talk about two teams that are going nowhere this season. We have the Indianapolis Colts at the Las Vegas Raiders. Good grief. These two teams are disasters. The Raiders actually have expectations that they constantly fall short of. Derek Carr was 21-36, 259 yards, and 2 touchdowns for a 99.2 passer rating. Not that bad of a game. Devontae Adams had 10 receptions for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns. Again, he had a very good game. As for the Colts, Frank Reich is out. He is fired as their head coach. And Jeff Saturday, a guy who has no coaching experience in the pros or college, is going to be coaching for the Colts. I read something on Instagram saying that's the first time that's happened since Norm Van Brocklin in the 1960s. So the Colts are in tank mode. For what it's worth, Sam Ehlinger was 15 of 29, 103 yards, and an interception for a 46.6 passer rating. It's really a shame that Sam Ehlinger's career has gotten off to this kind of a start. This usually happens with sixth-round quarterbacks. They're kind of just thrown into the fire, not expected to do well for a team that's just failing. I don't know what's going to happen in this game because, like I said, both these teams are kind of a mess right now. The Raiders have to go one of these games without blowing a lead, right? Against Sam Ehlinger and Jeff Saturday, it has to happen, right? The Raiders have to win this game. I'm going to be going with the Raiders. If they lose this game, it's gone from bad to worse for them. So, hopefully the Raiders win. I'm going to be going with the Raiders. So next up, we got the Dallas Cowboys at the Green Bay Packers. If the Packers weren't already panicking before last week, they better start panicking now. They needed to beat the Detroit Lions. It was a one-win team, and their offense only scored 9 points. Aaron Rodgers probably had the worst game of his career. That's no joke. He was 23 of 43, 291 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, 53.5 passer rating. Aaron Rodgers has that many interceptions in an entire season, let alone one game. There are people saying that Aaron Rodgers should retire after this season after how badly he's been playing. I wouldn't go that far, but some of his interceptions were bad. They were in the red zone. One of them, he just underthrew his guy, and a Lions cornerback, whoever it was, picked him off. It was bad. So the Packers at 3-6, facing a good Dallas Cowboys team coming off of a bye, if they fall to 3-7, the Packers season is over. And we've never seen something like this happen with a Hall of Fame quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, the Packers in general, but also Aaron Rodgers. This is crazy. So, the Packers could save their season if they beat the Cowboys here. Maybe they can fight for a wild card spot, but it's getting pretty bleak for them. If they lose to the Cowboys here, which I would appreciate they did because that would help the Commanders a little bit in the wild card race, but I don't think the Packers are going to win. I think the Cowboys are going to beat them. I think the Packers are going to fall to 3-7, and I think that Aaron Rodgers is not going to be benched, but the people saying that he should retire, I don't know. I wouldn't go that far, but it's getting real desperate in Green Bay, and I think it's going to get even worse when the Cowboys beat them. So I'm going to be going with the Cowboys. So next up, we got 2 more teams that are really struggling. We have the Arizona Cardinals at the Los Angeles Rams. So the Rams lost to the Buccaneers last week, and they're in a similar situation to the Packers, where if they didn't already start panicking, they better start panicking now. Matthew Stafford was 13 of 27, 165 yards, 1 touchdown for an 80 passer rating. That singular touchdown went to Cooper Kupp, who had 8 receptions, 127 yards, and that touchdown. Yeah, the Rams are not looking good. Their defense is not looking good. Jalen Ramsey still says, we made stops. The offense needs to deliver. And to an extent, I agree. But the team as a whole is not looking good. This is one of the worst Super Bowl hangovers I've ever seen. This is, I suppose, what happens when you go all in to win a ring and what it costs you. It costs them everything. As for the Cardinals, Kyler Murray was 25 of 35, 175 yards, 2 touchdowns with a 101.5 passer rating. So, again, decent numbers by Kyler, but the Cardinals are still underperforming. In this game, though, this is a good opportunity, I think, for the Cardinals to steal a win from a wounded Rams team. And if the Rams lose this game, much like the Packers, they can kiss their playoff hopes goodbye. These are 2 playoff hopefuls in the Packers and Rams from last season that are just completely imploding. And I can't remember the last time we saw something like that happen. So in this game, though, I am going to be going with the Cardinals. I think they're going to upset the Super Bowl champions. So next up, we got the 5-3 LA Chargers at the 4-4 San Francisco 49ers. So the 49ers, coming off of their bye, they're 4-4. They're vying for that elusive 7th spot because the Cowboys and Giants kind of have the 5 and 6 seeds locked up. So this is a game that's very important to them. But it's also very important for the Chargers to win because the Chargers are also the 7th seed in the AFC. Justin Herbert was 30 of 45 for 245 yards, a touchdown, and an interception for an 82 passer rating. Joshua Parker, 8 receptions for 106 yards. So we don't really hear much from that guy. He had a pretty good game. This is what coming to the home stretch of the end of the season is all about. Teams vying for playoff spots. And I think this 7th seed that they've added last season adds a lot of intrigue for a lot of these teams that would be in the hunt, but they can now vie for that last 7th seed playoff spot. 49ers have a great all-around team. The Chargers are 5-3, but they've looked inconsistent at times. I think this is going to be an example of a 49ers team coming off of a bye, strong, well-rested. They're going to beat a Chargers team that still lacks momentum. Justin Herbert is still at 500 for the career, and I think that says all that it needs to say about the Chargers as a team. And I think this is going to be an example of the 49ers capitalizing. I think they're going to win. I think they're going to move to 5-4. And last but not least, for our Monday night game, my Commanders are in prime time as they face the 9-0 Philadelphia Eagles. Are they 9-0 or are they 8-0? They're 8-0 because they've had their bye, and they might go 9-0 after this game. For what it's worth, the Commanders actually looked pretty good in their game against the Vikings. They left them scoreless for the middle part of that game. Their defensive front was really good, putting pressure on Kirk Cousins. A lot of 3-and-outs. Their defense played really well. I think the Commanders have a top 10 defense. Does Chase Young have a chance to return in this game? I don't know. It'd really help us out because the Eagles are a juggernaut. In their last game, Jalen Hurts was 21 of 27, 243 yards, 2 touchdowns, 128.9 passer rating. So they have been really, really good. Miles Sanders, 17 carries, 93 yards, and a touchdown. Dallas Goedert, 8 receptions, 100 yards, and a touchdown. They're 8-0 for a reason. You can say whatever you want about them having an easy schedule. When they played us, they had 9 sacks on us. They destroyed us. However, Taylor Heineke's a bit more mobile. Hopefully the team has a bit more around it. The Commanders, maybe they've reached their stride a little bit. I think they're a better team than they were early on in the season. I think that we saw a bit of mortality with the Eagles as the Texans gave them a tough game. You never know what's going to happen in a divisional matchup. An upset here would be big. If the Commanders win, Taylor Heineke will have gone 3-1, and I think he will have earned the starting job from Carson Wentz. I think they need to keep him in if they end the Eagles winning streak in prime time on Monday night. That's a huge win. For what it's worth, Taylor Heineke was 15 of 28, 149 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception for a 77.8 passer rating. There's no two ways about it. The interception that Taylor Heineke threw was bad. It was costly. He overthrew his guy. It was a big return. It cost us the game. Well, that cost us the game, and the fact that our defense couldn't stop the Vikings offense from scoring that touchdown. But outside of that pass, Heineke played pretty well. He had a nasty spin move that got him a couple first downs. He did a good job managing the game for that middle portion. I still think Heineke's a better quarterback than Carson Wentz. I think he doesn't have the physical talents that Carson Wentz does, but he's got the intangibles that Carson Wentz simply doesn't have. So I think that Heineke should start for the rest of the season. You know, Carson Wentz is in your future anyway. If anything, Sam Howell's your future. You might want to try and, focus on him a little bit. But what's going to happen in this game, as much as I want to say the Commanders are going to upset the Eagles, I have to go with my head and not my gut. I think the Eagles are going to win. They're just too talented. The only way the Commanders are going to win this game, if they keep it low scoring, they get a couple defensive turnovers, their offense plays a perfect game. That's what needs to happen for them to win. Now, let's go over to the playoff picture. So the playoff picture is virtually kind of unchanged from where it was last season. In the NFC, Eagles still the top spot, 8-0. Vikings number 2 for 7-1, and then 3-4. We got the Seattle Seahawks at 6-3 and the Buccaneers at 4-5. In the hunt right now is the same. We got the Cowboys, Giants, and 49ers at 5, 6, and 7 respectively. The Giants and Cowboys are both 6-2, so it's going to be really, really hard for those teams to catch them. So this is to catch the San Francisco 49ers, who's nipping at their heels, but the 4-5 Atlanta Falcons and the 4-5 Washington Commanders. The Falcons are in a bit better shape because they're tied with the Buccaneers, who are winning the division. So they have a better chance than the Commanders do. But basically, Commanders need to win, 49ers need to lose, and then Washington is the number 7 seed. But with the way this matchup is, I don't think it's going to happen. As for the AFC, Bills still number 1 at 6-2. The Chiefs not too far behind. They're also 6-2. The Ravens really building their momentum back at the number 3 seed. They're 6-3. And then the Titans and Jets. Well, the Titans are 5-3. The Jets are 6-3, and the Dolphins are 6-3. So the AFC a lot more competitive than the NFC. The closest team to catch them. And the Chargers are 4-5. So that's, or 5-3 rather. Sorry, that is their record as the 7th seed. Right now, the Patriots and Bengals are 8-9 at 5-4. It's going to be a bit easier for the Patriots because they're only a game behind both the Jets and the Dolphins. So if the Patriots win and then either the Jets or Dolphins lose, that takes them out of it a little bit. However, if the Patriots win and the Chargers lose, then that switches. The entire AFC East could win and make the playoffs. How crazy is that? Well, I know I kind of blasted through those playoff picture, but as it stands now, there's still a lot of football left to be played and still a lot of moves yet to be made. All I know is it's not going to be the Packers or Rams. So those are my reviews for Week 10. I will see you guys next week. Take care.